I said I've stopped eating meat and started on this journey about 10 years ago, and I've heard a lot of excuses. I've heard a lot of excuses over and over and over again. I used to get so angry. Has anybody heard protein? What about protein? If you could raise your hand. Okay, so for those that haven't heard it, the most common question that gets, the common question that I've experienced is, where do you get your protein though? And I used to get really angry about that question. I was like, I know, because I knew the answer. I was like, well, we get protein from plants. The amino acids that we eat, they build in our bodies to make protein. But the other people who were asking the question, they didn't know that. But I used to get angry at them and go, oh, why are you asking this question? Yada yada yada. And now I just realised that people don't know where you get your protein from. So someone says, where do you get your protein from? I'm like, from plants. Where do you get your calcium from? From plants. And then you can literally, if you don't know the specific plant that they come from, literally just put it into Google. Vegan source of protein. Loads of examples. Vegan source of calcium. Everything. So I'm going to delve in a little bit into the excuses. So one of the most common ones is lions though. So lions eat meat, so us as humans, we should eat meat too. The interesting thing about lions is that they sniff each other's bums to greet each other, and they don't wear any clothes, they go naked. So what I say to meat eaters when they say, oh, lions eat meat, I go, are you going to replicate everything that lions do? Are you going to not wear any clothes anymore? Are you going to sniff my bum when we greet? No one has ever said yes so far, but it's an interesting thing because they haven't really thought about their argument. There's a lot of arguments that get presented to vegans that are baseless, and what we have to do is be calm and considerate when we're speaking to them about it. Don't be like, you're this, you're that, whatever, because they don't know the answer and they've asked you a question you've heard 100 times. Be considerate and be like, lions do eat meat, but they do lots of other things that no other human is going to do, so they're not a good example to follow. Also, black widows. So on the right is a black widow, there's a female, and there's a male down here. And so when they mate, after they've mated, the female will eat the male. And so when people say, oh, lions eat meat, I say, black widows, the female eats the male. Are you going to do that as well? Because that's what animals do. And that highlights that their argument is baseless. It doesn't work. So over the years, people have used religion to me to justify inflicting cruelty onto animals and hurting them when there's no nutritional need. They've said, this part of this scripture says this, the vicar says that I need to do this. But for me, I used to think I was a Christian, and I don't have anything against religion, that's up to you. I have a problem with people just using it to justify hurting animals. So for me, a loving God does not want anybody to hurt animals when you don't need to. A compassionate God does not want anybody to hurt animals when you don't need to. Also, there is a big group called the Seventh-day Adventists, and they are vegan and vegetarian Christians. Also, I have a lot of vegan friends who are also Christians, so not just Christian, they are lots of other faiths as well. So we can't use religion, when we know that there's another option, we can't use religion as an excuse, as an argument against veganism. Has anybody heard of vegan Sidekick? Could you raise your hand? Okay, so for those who haven't heard of Vegan Sidekick, he creates these really interesting cartoons and illustrations that basically break down all of the arguments that are presented to vegans. And his stuff is free as well, so please check out his stuff online. And I mentioned about the food chain. There is no such thing as a food chain. In 2018, when we use shops, also if there was a food chain, we're absolutely destroying the oceans to a point of no return in some respects. So you can't say food chain, oh, you're destroying the oceans, because food chain really means about keeping an ecological balance, and it doesn't make sense. Animal agriculture is destroying the planet in many ways. Doesn't exist. We have shops. What I do is I've sort of formed a set of questions that I like to ask people, and also there are lots of other inspiring people on YouTube and other areas that also have their own line of questioning, but these are the ones that I use and find effective, and they're like this. What's stopping you going vegan? Because then they go, then you get the reasons, and then you can talk through the reasons. What's your view on gassing animals in the UK? So pigs and chickens, we gas them is one of the methods. What's your view on that as an individual? are you an animal lover? Because what you have from then is actually, I believe that a lot of people in the UK aren't animal lovers, they are pet lovers. I used to be a pet lover. I used to love the little fluffy animals that we had in our house, but I was eating other animals. So that's, for me, that's not a thing of love. And to be a true animal lover, I believe that we have to be vegan. The other interesting question, and very few people that I've ever asked, I asked them, can you kill animals yourself? Genuinely, just because I can't. I've tried a few times in the past, I have, and it was horrible, it was horrific. I'm never doing that again. And I asked them, I say, would you be able to kill animals yourself? Also, because we're in the UK, we have this distinction, we have this strange separation between dogs and pigs. We treat them differently when really they're just animals. So if I was to say I fancy a dog burger, everyone would be frowning, they'd be, why are you doing that? That's really harsh. And I'd be like, but you just came from McDonald's. What's the difference? The difference is the species. And we ask these questions, as I say, from a considerate place, like you would a friend, because they may not have been asked these questions before, and you get to sort of get an insight as to where people are at. So as I said, I haven't always been confident, and I haven't always been confident in debating people or chatting about veganism, but what happens is, over time, the more you research about veganism, the more you have conversations with people, the more you come to talks like this one, or other inspiring talks at Vegfest, you build up answers, and you also develop, and also the way I answered those questions, that's my technique. You'll develop your own. You'll be like, Bertie, I didn't like that line of answering. I'm going to use this other one that's a little bit more in line with who I am. And that's totally fine. I'm not here to say, you must do what I do. I'm here to present ideas, and then you'll form your own from the ones that work or don't work for you. And yeah, so with the answers, I'm pretty happy to have a debate about veganism with anyone, because I've been really fortunate that I've spoken to hundreds of people about it, and I've just heard the same ones over and over again, and I'm happy to just sit down with somebody for 40 minutes, an hour, and go, let's talk about it, let's go into the other avenues. And that's through time, through having people ask me like 40 questions in a row, and other things like that. But what I'm trying to say is, overall, you'll develop your own confidence, your own understanding, your own answers as you go. So if you feel that you're a little bit like shy and you're a little bit low in confidence because you don't know all the answers, they do come with time.